Republika. Start moving.
Tourism is one of the leading sectors in Indonesia. Tourism is a big part of our economy. In these past years, tourism has been creating opportunities and jobs for the society. Tens of thousands of businesses and millions of Indonesians depend directly and indirectly in this industry to put food on the tables. However, society in the industry often offers inequality for women that resulted in underpaid and undervalued. Even in fact, 55% of the tourism industry laborers are women. Putting women and girls in the center of economics will fundamentally drive better sustainable development outcomes for all, support more rapid increase, and help to achieve the SDGs better. Women in Tourism Indonesia already take the lead. Now, will you?
Hidup terlalu pendek untuk membiarkan pemikiran-pemikiranmu, ide-idemu,
Hello. Okay, again.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon for all the participants today. Welcome to the WTID Talk Series 4, collaboration between Women in Tourism Indonesia and ROOTE Trails, with the theme for today, Building Resilience During COVID-19, Stories of Hope and Inspiration of Women in Tourism Across the World. My name is India from Women in Tourism Indonesia, who will be the MC and the guide of the talk show today. Today we have a really special for amazing women leaders who will share their stories on how they survived their business during this pandemic COVID-19. We will also be supported by Dr. Stromakol, who will be here to give an opening speech for today. Before I read out the schedules and rules for today's event, me as a part of Women Tourism Indonesia and ROOTE Trails would like to thank all for the who supported and made this event successful. Next, I will read out the rundown for today. This event will be opened with opening speech from Dr. Stromakol. Then for the talk show, it will be moderated by Ms. Raisa. The first speaker for today is Ms. Alfonsa from Indonesia and will be continued by Ms. Doris from Ghana. After that, we have Ms. Nino from Georgia, and the last is Ms. Defica always from Sri Lanka. After the talk show, there will be a Q&A session, and before the event closes, we will announce a lucky winner for the best question who will get a special gift from Wearing Inges. Lastly, the event will be closed with a photo session with the participants and all our speakers today. Now I will read out our rules for today. For admin, can you please display the rules on the screen? Yeah, there are already the talk force audience guide. First, the participant's video camera and microphone will automatically be turned off by the operator during the event. Video and microphone can be used only with the operator control, host and co-host as directed by the moderator. Number 2, questions and suggestions are only through the chat column with the following format: name _ institution / organization speakers to which it address _ questions, or name institutions _ institution / organization suggestions. Number 3, access to the speaker's representation will be given at the end of event via Google Drive link and will be announced further at Instagram womentourism.id. Number 4, their participant certificates will be given via email according to the data on the attendance list. Number 5, door prize winner will be announced at closing. Thank you, admin. Now we will hear opening speech from Dr. Stromakol. Please welcome Dr. Stromakol.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much indeed for inviting me to join you here today. I'm really excited to hear that equality in tourism has a sister movement in Indonesia. When I was thinking about building resilience during COVID and stories of hope, I thought there was no better framework to write it around than the values of WTID. So using their values, I thought that their first value is to engage. And I really believe that the success of the organization will depend on using their passion and to work in partnerships with other organizations, creating collaborations between different women's groups. Together we are stronger. So already this is a collaboration between Equality in Tourism and WTID, but do you know about gender responsible tourism in Italy? I work with them, for example. How about She in Tourism in Singapore? It's a regional partner. I don't know them, but I think they're definitely worth looking into and developing a collaboration with. I've also worked with ELSAM, so I don't think we need to stick exclusively to groups that are just focused on tourism. I work with ELSAM on gender tourism and human rights and have written in Indonesian a chapter in their book. They're a human rights organization in Indonesia, right? And that there are women's rights organizations, and we ought to reach out to those women's rights organizations and put tourism on their agenda, just as they have put gender on our agenda. The second value of WTID is to empower, and we all know that empowered women empower others. For people in destinations, for girls in destinations, they can be inspired and motivated when they see women in managerial positions, women who run businesses, women who have successful careers. You know, we have to demonstrate to those, we have to give hope to the next generation. And when I'm talking about empowerment, I'm not talking about empowerment like the World Tourism Organization talks about, or empowerment, or even sometimes the Indonesian government talks about empowerment. It's not about giving women more burdens and more jobs, right? We already have plenty of work to do, right? We don't need work just to pay taxes. I'm talking about redressing power imbalances, giving women autonomy to manage their lives, to resist oppression, to have full participation, and to take ownership of their choices, particularly ownership over reproductive rights, because that is one of the ways that we know norms will change when women are not overburdened with large families. Women's empowerment is vital for sustainable tourism, for all forms of sustainable development, but also for the realization of human rights for all. And I always have the frame for empowerment in 3 A's. I like the alliteration of having, you know, 3 A's of empowerment. So autonomy, agency, and authority. And it's not till we have those. We don't want just the money, right? Economics is important, yes, but we need autonomy, agency, and authority to be truly empowered. And the third value of WTID is educate. And I really believe that we need more information sharing between us as different groups, information sharing to the general public, information sharing to the industry, and information sharing to the government. Now, that information needs to be in 2 forms for it to be successful. It needs to be quantitative and qualitative. So it needs to include sex disaggregated data. Any organization in tourism, any organization in anything that isn't collecting its data in a sex disaggregated manner is doing a disservice to women, because we can't show that things are improving without the data, and we can't show things are getting worse without the data. So we seriously need that sex disaggregated data. But alongside the data, we also need stories, and we need to get better and smarter at sharing stories, sharing good stories, but sharing struggles, sharing opportunities, sharing challenges through stories. Stories are great ways. That's how people remember. When you have the experience in tourism, you remember it through the stories. We need to share those stories between us and beyond us. And the fourth E of equality is of WTID is equality. And what we need to understand is that it's a really slow process. We're not going to change everything overnight, all right? But if we use a human rights-based approach, if we base ourselves in the belief that in the reality that gender equality is a human right, okay, and we come back to claiming our rights. We also need to have much better recognition of the care economy. You can't double burden women by expecting them to do everything around the house and have a job. We need recognition of all the work that women do that's not paid. We've also got to tackle stereotypes and social norms, and we know that this really takes a long time, but I would suggest that if anybody's interested to look at the work of Oxfam about how we change social norms and how we tackle stereotypes, but each one and every one of us has to do it all the time. And that takes persistence and determination. And if you're in it for a quick win, forget it, right? It's persistence, it's determination, it's the long haul, because that's the way these things will change. And particularly in tourism, I think it's really important that we work to stamp out gender-based violence. Tourism is a space where gender-based violence festers, brews, multiplies. It's a really and fear of gender-based violence is a barrier for women's success, and we really have got to work on the strategies to stamp out gender-based violence. And as an organizations, we need to work with organizations that work on gender-based violence. I have a research project on the topic in Sumba, but I haven't got time for that at the moment. So what about post-COVID tourism. All right. What we know is more men have died, but more women have been affected, particularly women in tourism. All right. So we need more gender responsive measures. But also we can see it as an opportunity to reset. All right. People are sitting around, they're thinking about tourism, they're thinking about how to make it better. And in terms of thinking about how to make it better, I think there's a few things that we really have to seriously remember. And one is that how connected tourism is to everything else. It's not only about the linkages, okay, the linkages into crafts, into cloth, the linkages into agriculture, the linkages into fisheries. There's plenty of ways we can talk about the linkages, but it's beyond the economics and the linkages, right? You know, I've done a lot of research about water. Tourism is, and water are interconnected, but badly recognized as very interconnected. Tourism is linked to health. Tourism is linked to education. You can just go on and on and on. You know, tourism is there everywhere and connected to everything else. The second thing is that we mustn't forget that gender is not our only identity, right? And that there are multiple factors that underlie our identity, and it's not the only form of discrimination. And many people put up with multiple forms of discrimination, right? And I think in Indonesia, that intersectionality is most prevalent when we think about ethnicity and sexuality in particular, but also age, status, religion. I mean, there's lots of ways in which there are multiple forms of discrimination that compound one another, and we need to bear those in mind. So when we're rebuilding tourism in a more sustainable way, we need policies that alleviate overdependence on tourism. You know, this pandemic is the first pandemic. There will be more. There will be another earthquake that goes off. There will be another volcano that goes off. There will be another terror attack. There will be other disruptors of tourism. They won't be as bad as this one, hopefully, but there will always be it. And relieving overdependence on tourism is critical. We need programs to develop diversification. We cannot just go for international tourists. The planet won't let us. We've got to think about other things, okay? And in that way, we can align tourism with the SDGs and have a more inclusive and resilient industry. And last but not least, because the title is Stories of Hope, and I really want to give WTID and all the audience stories of hope. So here it is, one slide. This year, this week, Equality in Tourism, who have been working for 9 years tirelessly, without pay, without funding, voluntarily, doing it all because we believe in it. This year, we won the To-Do Award at ITB. ITB is the world's biggest business-to-business event, and the To-Do Award is a recognition of human rights in tourism. And it is a story of hope because at last an organization like ours got recognition, but also because I took that opportunity, I took that spot on the virtual stage. It was a Zoom. That's why there's no picture of me receiving an award, right? Because it was on Zoom. But I used that stage to make ITB, the organizers of ITB, promise that there will be a gender equality prize every year. So this is the Human Rights Prize, okay, but it could be for anything. It's, you know, it just happens to have gone to us in gender this year. In future, there will be, they promised, and let's see if they keep their promise. I have hope that, and I think that that delivers hope to everyone, that finally we get recognition of the importance of gender in tourism. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the others have to say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stromaco, for the awesome insight. Now, before we go to the main talk show, I will read about Dr. Stromaco profile. Dr. Stromaco combines her academic career with action research and consultancy. Her research explores the interconnect between tourism, gender, and water rights. Stroma has a long history of working on small islands, particularly in Indonesia. This year, she received a British Academy Knowledge frontier grant to explore the connections between water insecurity and gender-based violence, and has just reported on overcoming the challenge of doing international interdisciplinary research during COVID-19. Aside from being an associate editor for Annals of Tourism Research and on the editorial journal a Journal of Sustainable Tourism, she also directs Equality in Tourism, a non-profit organization working to promote gender equality in destinations around the world. Now we will move to the talk show, and it will be moderated by Ms. Risti Nuraisa. For Ms. Risti, the time is yours.
Hello. Thank you, Cynthia. Good afternoon, everyone from Jakarta. My name is Risti, and I'll be your moderator today. So it is an honor for me to be here today. So thank you to Women in Tourism Indonesia and ROOTE Trails for the opportunity to sit and talk with four amazing women in the tourism industry. Before we continue, I would like to introduce you all to our speakers. Admin, could you please share the speaker's profile? So yes, okay. So first speaker, we have Ibu Alfonsa Raga Horeng, an empowered woman from Maumere, Flores East, Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia. She is a maestro in weaving, in ikat weaving, a traditional fabric from Flores, and she's been learning these skills since she was 12 years old. So her name is already famous among those who's massively interested in Indonesian textile, especially in ikat weaving. She has created Lepo Lorun Center and established a weaving center to preserve the heritage of Flores ikat weaving. Her background also gave her a lot of chances to inspire and teach other people from the opposite part of the world about ikat weaving. Various awards in different countries also earned thanks to her dedication and spirits. Next, please. Our second speaker is Doris Anabil, who is packed with lots of skills and knowledge. Her journey in tourism industry starts in 2009 after she finished her bachelor degree in tourism and began to work as a travel consultant and teaching assistant in her previous school. Currently, she is a part-time lecturer on tourism reservations and airline operations at Zenith University College, and is also a full-time sales and marketing manager in Eurotour Ghana Limited. Her competency in tourism field is vary from sustainable tourism business development, community-based tourism research, and even Amadeus Global Distribution System. With her knowledge and skills, she has been awarded with various prizes. Next, please. Our third speaker is Nino, CH. She is a young woman from Georgia who is enthusiastic about tourism, especially in the media sector. She is a co-founder of Site Georgia, a digital travel media in Georgia. And although her bachelor's background is from governance and social sciences, she has started her career in tourism since 2016 as a travel consultant in Zurich. To support her interest in the tourism industry, now Nino is pursuing her master's degree at the Wageningen University and research majoring in tourism, society, and environment. Next, please. And our fourth speaker is Defica, a multi-talented hospitality specialist with 40 years of experience. She starts her early career in the food and beverage division and worked overseas ever since. With her diverse cultural, ethnic, and social background, she has a strong and intuitive perspective as a leader. Her outstanding leadership proven in several positions that she has held as director. Today, she holds 2 strategic positions in the hospitality industry, specifically General Manager of Avani Bentota Resort in Sri Lanka and Head of Operational Excellence in Serendipity Leisure Management Ltd. So these are our 4 speakers, and I'm sure you all can't wait to hear from them. So let's just start. We can start with our first speaker, Ibu Alfonsa, who has already prepared a performance for us as well before her presentation. Ibu Alfonsa, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello, all of the world. Happy Women International Days. We are weavers from Lepelorun Flores in Indonesia. We are a community based on tourism and ecotourism. So we are not just temporary organization. We are a long organization. So not temporary organization. So let me show you what the weavers doing in our daily activity during pandemic and after pandemic and before pandemic. We are still weaving, and we are weaving at the ecotourism place, and we happy with music and dance. So let me show for first present of us is music. Okay, thank you. Now we show you weaving process. And I saw you before our work. This is from Indonesia. It's a part of East Nusa Tenggara Province. We have many traditional identity. So if we were like this, people knows where we came from and what's your name. Start here is from Labuan Bajo or Manggarai. Her name is Anu. All of women's wearing with this uniform. Baler. Name's Anu. And this is from Nagekeo. The next of the Flores is Nagekeo. His name's Uge. And this from Ngada, Bejawa. His name's Uge too. And but this from Ende. The fashions like this. And it's from East Flores. Sama lau ya Miyu ya. East Flores, all of our nation. So let me show you how to make the clothes. This is not just uniform or general clothes, but this is our philosophy, our heritage, our identity, and our civilization. So we go to this is our organization, legal organization, and we show you the process, long process of weaving, like 45-step process. So before pandemic, many foreigner visitors interesting to show how to make a weaving based on a 45-step process. We start here. The raw material is cotton. Cotton is moving from the garden. Separate it one by one. And next process we dry it. And we make the timber like this. And fluffing cotton by beating. And next process is spinning to get the yarn. It must be concentrate to get the yarn. This is knowledge and education, so not craft. Because we working with philosophy, we have culture, will be present for bride price and for the special festival. After spinning, we have put in Hidinodi to make the ball. And we put at the first frame to make the design with tie-dye technique. She's tied with direct, pure, not wrote it on before or not draw it on before. Draw at the design at the white media, and after that put at the natural dyes with the natural dyes with the plants.
Ibu Alfonsa, sorry,
Yeah,
you have 10
and-
minutes left.
Okay, yeah, I have a time, and this the
Okay.
finished
Sure.
process, and the last process is weaving. Now I show you the presentation, so please show me the PowerPoint. Show me, okay. Yeah, we start our presentation. Lepoloron is House of Weaving. There's a culture destination tourism based on women empowering. And we are preserve our impressive artwork with the textile. Next. Next slide. So we are in the middle of Indonesia between Bali and East Timor. So we are in Flores Islands, close with Komodo. Then looking at the Google map searching. Next. We are a women weavers cooperative since 2002, but the ikat weaving from 6th century ago. We work based on the heritage identity, keep the tribal and handmade work. We made the weaving for bride price for traditional uniform or clothes, and we have geographical indication to showing the identity, where we came from and what our uniform, and we have special festival present for present with the clothes, and this women work to show the creativity economy in the family. Next. We have a threefold mission to preserve our culture tradition and to create the economy and to share the global market. To preserve our culture tradition based on the ancient local impressive artwork, and we create the economy based on innovation, collaborate with fashion designers, anthropologists, with books, academic discipline, and we make it for tourism based on an interest for education. And to share the global market, we have travel like 30 country to showing education and to share, promote information and looking, collaborate with another women's women group at the foreign. Next. We service our activity during the pandemic. We have a traditional ikat weaving production, like I showing you before. We working every day, and ladies weaving at their own home. And we service for research, interview class for the students. We have natural studio and ethnic fashion photography or video that we show you. We have daily information for people. Millennial people come for make the photo and video. And we have cartoon natural dyes garden. We service herbal wellness drink too during pandemic, and we production face mask based on the material of ikat. And we have cooking class or culinary, but by online. And during pandemic, we built a new house for weaving school or for weaving class. Before pandemic, we service textile tours for big group and small group. We service at homestay. We service a traditional entertainment like music, dance, songs, and we have garden party venue. We have weaving workshop for foreigners and students, and we produce a big movie or film. So in this pandemic, we just show you that we are survive. We are working every day, and we keep the sustainable of culture during the pandemic because we are community based on ecotourism and culture. Next. Here we are, before pandemic, I've traveled 35 countries to promote exhibitions and presenting at the university or heritage group or museum or anthropology. And we keep the contact, collaborate, networking, we collaborating and we make networking between international women and rural women that my weavers member explain. We have Indonesian Switzerland intellectual property rights like geographical indication. This is legal for they facilitate and help of Indonesian weavers to keep their legal of work. Next. Before pandemic, we have textile tour service, and we working collaborate with agencies, hotel, restaurants, and tourism stakeholders. Next. We have eco homestay. That's a mini eco homestay with building like a traditional, an ancient traditional house. This the situation with the bamboo and everything at a tropical situation. Next. This before pandemic, we have a big group from all countries come and live in, stay at the homestay and come for daily, for coffee, for looking the dance and weaving process. Next. During pandemic and before pandemic, we always service class for group students or private students want to come to study or learn how to weaving, how to make the natural dyes, and they have work or they finish on their tasks from the school. Next.
Well, Alfonsa, sorry, you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Next. Next slides. That's the situation of photo video that we service, and we get money every day from the millennials. Next. During pandemic. Next slides. We service for herbal wellness drink and photography and ecotourism. We have farm, garden, and we make a face mask. Next. Ikat is original. It's a difference with ikat printing because we have philosophy and pattern. Next. The situation overlapping of work, lucrative work about the weavers in rural. We are not status or education. We are a weaver status in ID card of Indonesia. The systematic raw materials and marketing in Indonesia, special in Flores, based on the weavers. So local people, local government not help us, just central government help us. Next. Women weavers dream within a sustainable income. We need a product development. We need implementing of intellectual property rights like geographical indication, and we need access of large market. We need fair trade. We need a develop of education, and we need a government support. So we are not craft women. We are artisans. We are who give our capacity to make a big impressive shoe art. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Alfonsa. I would like to talk more about it, but we will have time during the Q&A session. It's amazing to see the work that you do and the work that all the women do in Flores. So next up, we have our second speaker, Doris. Doris, are you ready? I would like to remind our audience to, especially the one joining via Zoom, please fill in the attendance list so we can send you the participant certificate and speaker's presentation later on. And also please feel free to ask questions through the chat box. Doris, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so good morning, everyone, or good evening, good afternoon, depending on where in the face of the world you are. I'm sending you greetings from Accra, Ghana, and it's a bright and sunny morning here, and so much greetings from Ghana. Okay, and thank you so much once again, organizers, for inviting me to be a speaker of this very all-important talk show. I'm very privileged and very honored to have been chosen to share my story. Already, I'm learning so much. I've learned so much from Dr. Stroma. I've learned so much from Alfonsa. There's so many wonderful things happening, even though there's COVID. It's good to know that women are being resilient and we are striving, you know, even during these challenging times. All right, it's a blessing and a privilege. Thank you so much. So I would just want to share also a little bit of my story. And next slide, please. Okay, in order for participants and everybody to get to understand how COVID-19 has affected my job, my business, or let's say life as a whole, just as how I believe that a lot of people in all over the world have also been affected one way or the other by this coronavirus. I just want to introduce or bring you in to what I do and a little bit about myself so that you get to understand how the virus has impacted on my life, my job, and has also changed a lot of things, you know, tremendously in my life. So currently I work as a sales and marketing manager, or let's say commercial manager of Ghana's, one of Ghana's leading travel and tour companies, Eurotour BCD Travel. So locally, we are known as Eurotour Ghana Limited, but on the global front, we are also known as BCD Travel because we have a franchise agreement with them. So we represent BCD Travel here in Ghana as well. Before I joined or I started working, which I've been working for the past 8 years, I completed my master's degree with Wageningen University. And Nino is currently in Wageningen, and it's so nice to know that somebody from Wageningen is also on the talk show. It means, yeah, Wageningen is doing something great. So I learned leisure tourism and environment, and all through my education, I've been learning tourism, sustainable tourism, pro-port tourism, community-based tourism, and all that. And now that I'm working more on the industrial aspect of tourism. My aim or my goal is to actually bridge the gap, you know, from what is happening in the classrooms, like theory, and also connected with the industry, because sometimes we learn so much in the classroom, but then there are different things happening, you know, on the ground. So I like to create that kind of bridging gap of theory and academics. So I'm kind of like in between. So I've been a researcher also in New Zealand Tourism Research Institute in Auckland during my studies, and currently also teach as a consultant. I lecture as well as part-time, and have lots of knowledge on the Amadeus global distribution system. So for the past 10 years or more, I've been in industry and also in the academia of tourism. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I love the statement by John Engel, which says that follow your passion and you will never work a day in your life. Because growing up, I've been so passionate about tourism, travel, get to know places. I don't know, but the universe kind of, you know, I don't know, placed me to work also in the industry. So sometimes my friends are like, are you working or you are traveling and enjoying your life? And I'm like, no, it's still the same, you know? So I'm passionate about travel. I love traveling to new destinations, meeting new people. I think Indonesia should be my next stop after COVID. Hopefully after coronavirus, I should visit Alfonsa and her people. Okay, so I also love to help people to discover new places. I love to tell stories about destinations, help make their travels also very easy and comfortable. And work passion, now I cannot really tell the difference. It's all kind of like one whole thing together. Next slide, please. Yeah, so like I was saying, in order to understand how the impact of COVID has been on my business and my job, the first thing is to understand what I do. So my role as a sales and marketing manager, which is my main job with ROOTE BCD Travel, is finding opportunities to grow our travel business through partnerships, new initiatives, and like I mentioned earlier, franchise with BCD Travel, which is a global travel agency. And my travel business includes, but not limited to, the sales of domestic and international tickets to destinations worldwide. So we sell tickets within Ghana, within Africa, and then all over the world, all right? And we also engage in meetings, incentives, conferences, and events all over the world. We coordinate that. We also prepare tour packages, travel insurance, hotel bookings, immigration, visas, just name it. We do everything travel, and we work with huge multinational companies here in Ghana. So my clientele is made up of both corporate travel and then leisure travelers as well. Corporate, of course, which is about 70% of our travelers. So I'm coordinating travel for huge companies like Nestle Ghana and the world, Samsung, General Electric, just mentioned, all these multinationals who have their corporate offices here in Ghana. We manage all their travels. And then, yes, some leisure travels for honeymooners or holidays and all that. We also do that as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so the travel industry before COVID-19 in Ghana. Ghana has been known as the gateway to West Africa. Okay, we have lots of people coming here to Ghana and to experience Africa. And tourism is the third foreign exchange earner here in Ghana. And we have about an estimation of 8.3 billion from the tourism sector alone in about, let's say, 4 years' time. That's 2027. It's also a #1 job creation, especially in the hospitality industry, the hotels, the restaurants, the airports, and you name it. A lot of people are working in this industry. And the country is very peaceful, and there are so many opportunities for business development and growth. Next slide, please. So, for many people who may not know where Ghana is located, that's it over there. I've circled it with a blue circle. So it's located on the west coast of Africa, over there. And the major cities in Africa that have been really affected by the coronavirus includes Lagos, Accra, that's Ghana, where I am currently, and then Johannesburg as well. An estimation of over 42,000 people lost their jobs in the first 2 months of the pandemic, according to the World Bank. Okay, and then there has also been a reduction of wages or salary slashes for about 770,000 Ghanaian workers ever since the coronavirus hit. Okay, and tourism attraction sector alone lost about $171 million. Okay, so our tourism sector just dropped like that because there were no people, no travelers coming into the country. Hotels were really, let's say, empty virtually. And we had a lot of hotels coming to us that they practically have rooms for 20% or 30% of their normal price. Okay, and Ghana was not prepared for this coronavirus, so our healthcare systems were very much overwhelmed. because we never knew that our country could be hit with such a virus where there will be so many people sick at the same time. Our hospitals, clinics, and everything were so much overwhelmed. And we had a lot of challenges in our educational system because we didn't have, let's say, online learning. There was nothing like an online learning platform for children. So we had children being at home for so many months, and it was quite overwhelming for them to stay educated whilst they were home. Next slide, please. Now, the impacts of the pandemic on women in Ghana, I'll take my mom as an example. For instance, my mom works in the market. In Ghana, we have over 90% of traders who work in the market, and 90% of them are women. So many women sell in the markets. They are doing a lot to keep the families, well, take care of them and the children as well. And a lot of women are entrepreneurs owning small and medium-sized enterprises or small-scale businesses. We also have a lot of women like myself in managerial positions of companies and all that. But we were really, really hit, and we were much at higher risk because I remember when we had lockdowns and my mom couldn't go to the market anymore to sell for about 3 weeks or a month. It was a really tough time for her because now I had to take care of her, and she didn't have her daily income or stream of income anymore, because when most women who sell in the market, it's like they get their incomes on daily basis. So there was a huge financial burden to take care of the family, to take care of children, and even me myself, a lot of financial burdens to take care, though I don't have kids yet, but to help take care of my—
Doris, sorry, you have 3 minutes left on the clock.
Okay, great. Next. So the impacts of the pandemic on my job or business, for the first time in history, all the planes were grounded. We worked so much with planes, and I remember I opened my laptop and there were no emails of requests, flight tickets coming in. That was the first time ever. All the clients we had that had booked flights, vacations to all over the world had to cancel or postpone. So it was like there was a huge drop in our sales, unimaginable loss of revenue. And all my major multinational companies had to impose travel bans, some of which are still in place. Next, please. Next slide, please, admin. Now, there has been a fear of traveling or sitting in planes. So we had the challenge of trying to build back the travel confidence in our clients. All right. And because of the social distancing, the nature of my job is such that I had to engage my clients with marketing, speak to people, and have a lot of meetings and conferences. So it was a huge challenge. Now, because of many travel requirements like PCR tests, quarantines, and all of that, many people don't even want to travel at all because it becomes now too expensive if you want to go to a destination. Next slide, please. So in surviving the pandemic, gosh, I remember during that time, I had never been at home for 3 weeks continuous before. So I had to learn to turn my lemons to lemonade. I had to try and exercise, learn a new skill, try to cook, try to do a lot of things, be positive, reflect on my life, reflect on goals, ambitions, and, embrace nature, try to rejuvenate, like Dr. Stromer said, to reset, to have a reset of myself and also the business. Next slide, please. So for the business, what we had to do is to try to create our workspace in such that it can have the coronavirus protocols in place, and also go online, be digital, because everything was now going online. So reinforce our online booking platforms for people to book their flights online, and also reinforce our online payment platforms so people can actually pay online without having to come to the office. And when I had to work from home, I also had to make sure I have 2 workstations, indoor, outdoor, however, to be able to be effective even when I'm working and from home. And also employ a lot of e-marketing and e-commerce in reaching out to my travelers. So instead of having face-to-face meetings with my travelers, I had to make more use of e-marketing and e-commerce. The new keyword was just going online, go digital. All right, next slide, please. And yes, and also to build back the travel confidence, to let every traveler know that yes, now it's safe to travel. And if you have anywhere you need to go, just be assured that all the destinations, all airlines, hotels, restaurants are putting a lot in place to ensure that you can travel safe. It's still safe to travel with all the protocols at hand. And I think that should be it. So
Thank you, Doris.
so much. Thank you. And
yeah, I think we are experiencing almost the same here in Indonesia, especially in Bali, where the hotel rooms are empty and sales are dropping. We have to discuss about it more in the Q&A session. And so I would like to invite our audience, please use this opportunity as much as you can to ask questions. We have the experts in tourism industry, including if you want to ask Dr. Stroma Cole, because, well, they're here, so just ask as many questions as you can to our speakers and Dr. Stroma Cole. So I think we have to continue to our next speaker, Nino. Nino.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. How are you today?
Very well. I'm very glad to be here.
Nice. Okay, so yes, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so hi again from Georgia. It's a really small country in Caucasia. I'm gonna be sharing with you today my personal story, how things changed for me during the COVID pandemic, and then how I came to start my own business, and hopefully to tell you that if I could do it, you can do it as well. So yeah, please, next slide. So yeah, who am I? I'm just another person, traveler, probably a lot of you are as well. I'm a mountain lover and a curious person. And I think those three made me just who I am, because of being so curious, I always end up having really interesting adventures and really exploring more about the world. And then I ended up co-founded Site Georgia, a tourism media platform, and I'm going to talk more about that later. So yeah, next please. Well, 2020 was really hard for everyone, not for me probably, but what changed for me was that I had really different expectations and really different outcomes, because I was doing my master's studies in the Netherlands at the Wageningen University and Research, as Doris mentioned as well. And I had basically everything planned out already. I knew I was gonna do my master's studies, and then I was gonna stay in Europe, do my internships, and then maybe work a little bit to gather some work experience. But then COVID happened, and I left the Netherlands for just 1 week as a holiday, and I returned home having only one backpack. And I got stuck basically in Georgia, because in this 1 week, the world changed. I couldn't fly back. I didn't have anything brought from the Netherlands, so luckily I could fit in my mom's clothes. And I got stuck with a really big depression, because I didn't know what to do. The world was in complete chaos. And well, I had no reference whatsoever what to do next. So yeah, next slide, please. Georgia was also hit really bad with the COVID pandemic. And one thing this pandemic has shown us is that no matter how much money your country has, the pandemic doesn't care. It doesn't really matter if you are really rich or poor. Your health is in a big trouble during the pandemic. So our country was not prepared at all. The health system was not strong enough, and there was just a huge chaos in the country. And then as for tourism, of course, our borders were closed as well. The government was mainly focusing on trying to return the students and the people who were working abroad home safely. And the tourism numbers just dropped drastically. We had no international flights, nothing whatsoever like this. And then a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of businesses went bankrupt. But more importantly, it was really hard for women. Next slide, please. And apparently, being a woman during the pandemic was harder than just being a woman, as it is already hard, I guess. Well, what happened in our country, aside from problems in tourism, basically, there was a huge rise in numbers of domestic abuse because women were stuck at home and are still stuck at home with abusive husbands sometimes, and they just cannot go anywhere. They don't have any place to go. They cannot go to work. They have 100 times more things to do at home, as all the home tasks are for women to do, and then they also need to take care of their children who cannot go to school anymore, and they need to work, and they need to clean and cook, and well, you know what I mean. And then on top of that, a lot of women got really bad mental health issues like depression, and I can identify myself in this category as well, because even though I thought I was a pretty strong person, apparently everyone was struggling, and so was I. And then talking about it was really hard to talk about the depression and mental health issues. And then I think a lot of women had problem with that as well. And then lastly, but not least importantly, in Georgia, the majority of people who are working in tourism industry are women. And as the business went down like this, a lot of women lost their jobs, and they could not provide any financial help to their families or to just themselves. So it became really hard sometimes to stay strong and to stay positive during the pandemic. Yeah, next slide, please. Well, what I did during the pandemic to help myself and the people around me, I quickly realized that I was really at the edge of having a mental breakdown. And then I kind of managed to tell myself, okay, you just need to stop. This is not the way to be. You need to be stronger than you are right now, and then you will find a way out. So what I did first was I concentrated on my health. I started a lot of like intensive workouts. I started to take care of my diet and to cook myself, to always take walks when I could, because we also had curfew here and still have. And then I told myself, okay, you had several goals, right? So why not sit down right now and concentrate on your goals? So what I did, I just took a notebook like this, and then just started to write down everything that was on my mind, write down on my goals. I wrote down all my plans, and I really said to myself, okay, now prioritize what you can do now. How can you use this time, this free time that you have sitting at home, to do something good of it? And then luckily I had a really amazing friend with me, and you can see her on the picture. And then we decided to use this opportunity of having so much free time, let's say like this, to put our plans into action, and we founded our own company. Yeah, next slide, please. And we did this. This is Site Georgia, media platform about travel in Georgia, where everyone can just basically go. It's in 2 languages, English and Georgia, and then see what you can do in our country, where you can go, where are the small untouched spots where tourists can see how local people really live, and what is it like to be a Georgian basically, and to get inspired to travel here. And then what we do also, what is very important for us, is that we focus on the small businesses, for example, the businesses that maybe do not have a lot of money to market themselves. And then we try to find those businesses and let them, and then give them the platform to basically share their stories. And then we try to also collaborate with interesting travel bloggers to help them share their stories, and then create this one space for travel in Georgia. And then, it was not easy. It might sound easy right now, but we had a lot of problems in the beginning. First of all, everyone was just laughing at us, saying, why would you start a business in tourism industry right now, where everything is closed? You don't know when anything will open. And then, why would you work in tourism right now? But what I told myself, and how I say that, is that we used this time to sit down and plan, because we had so much time, and then not many things were working. So we had a lot of opportunities to try out different things, to risk and to fail, because we didn't have a lot of traction in the beginning. So we could just try many different things and then see which one would be good for our platform, which ones were interesting for people. And also one more thing that we did is that we tried to let people know that you can travel in your own country, because people are always eager to travel somewhere else and go outside of the country. So what we basically did, we said to Georgian people, hey, look, you have so many interesting things here as well, so you can enjoy travel here. And then this way we also try to help tourism businesses to still have visitors, but Georgian visitors in this case, because flights are still banned here as well. Yeah, next slide, please. So what I always tell myself, and then I would be glad if I could inspire even one person, is that I always try to stay positive. And there are really few reasons why women should try to stay positive and try to concentrate on what they want to do with their life, because we are really strong. We are even stronger than we can imagine, because we can do like 100 things at the time and then still have energy to pursue our goals. And then I believe there is always a way out. There is always a chance to see things from different perspective. There's always chance to say to yourself, okay, I failed, I'm gonna try another way and I'm not gonna give up. And then it is really okay to be afraid, because not everything is easy in life, and it's okay to risk, it's okay to fail. And let me tell you, we failed so many times. We had so many rejections. We tried so many funding sources, for example, and then we got so many no's. But in the end, we were afraid in the beginning, but in the end, if you try hard, you can really achieve what you want to achieve. And then I believe trusting your instincts is also really important, because where your heart is and where your passion takes you, if you follow that, you will end up in a really amazing place, because then you will, as I will reference Doris here, if you follow your passion, you will never work a day in your life. So if you trust your instincts and follow your heart, I believe you will be really surprised. And then lastly, very unfortunately, women still do not have equal opportunities in tourism. And well, I can say that from Georgia, and I would think that many of you can agree with me. And then we really need to work hard. We need to be really tough. We need to withstand everything that is on your way. And then if you work really hard, you will be there. You will one day wake up and tell yourself, okay, I'm really cool and I did this on my own, so I deserve to celebrate my success. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this was everything from my side today, and I want to finish my presentation with this picture. We went on a hike, I think like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a really long hike, 10 days long. We didn't have any cell phones, nothing at all. And all of them in the pictures are women. And then we hiked 10 days straight, and then some of them were just beginners. They didn't have any good backpacks or anything like that. But what we really understood during that hike was that if women can support each other, and then if we can empower each other, and if we can celebrate each other, we can really achieve a lot of amazing things together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nino. It's nice to hear how you pursue your dream and your passion in travel and tourism, although it's really a challenging situation for us now with the pandemic and, you know, with the gender inequality in the industry. So it's great to hear inspiring story from you, and we're going to talk about it more later. I would also like to remind our audience that there will be a door prize at the end of the event, so you don't want to miss that. And now I would like to invite our fourth speaker, Defica. Hello, Defica.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time today. I heard you've been quite busy today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Okay, so space is yours.
Okay, let's start. Yeah. give me 1 second. Right, yes. So yes, good afternoon, everybody, and Ayubowan. Ayubowan is our traditional greeting here in Sri Lanka, and actually I have to say, this became quite useful during the pandemic because we could still graciously and politely greet each other without having to shake hands. So that became quite useful. So next slide, please. So warm greetings to all of you from Sri Lanka. I'm actually going to have some imagery from Sri Lanka just to give you an idea of, it's very similar to Indonesia, I must say, but just to share some of the images from our country as well. The next slide, please. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm the head of operational excellence for Serenity Pleasure Management. It's a hotel management company. We have 4 hotels and 8 villas, soon to become 8 hotels and additional villas. And if you're wondering what operational excellence is, in a nutshell, well, it's leveraging operations to achieve business growth. But in layman's term, I'm the kind of person that the general manager hates to see walking in through the door. So next slide, please. I'm also the general manager of the Avani Benthada Resort, which is on the southern coast of Sri Lanka, which is about 70 kilometers from the capital. Next slide, please. Now, just to give you a little bit of background about Sri Lanka and its tourism, Sri Lanka actually is a very mature tourist destination. Tourism goes back over 50 years. And we, although we're a small nation, small landmass, we have a very diversified natural landscape, which is one of the greatest attractions. And tourism is actually the third largest foreign income earner for the country. And it employs about 5% of the total labor force. But Sri Lanka, interestingly enough, has had to reinvent itself repeatedly due to various issues that have happened over the years. So, for example, in 1983, we had an insurrection and tourism just went down the tubes. We were, to the point where everything just stopped. And of course, then the insurrection ended in around 1987, and there was a resurgence in tourism. Then, of course, once again, in 2004, there was, of course, the tsunami, which I know a lot of you are familiar with. Sri Lanka as well was terribly affected by the tsunami, and about 2/3 of our coastal area, hotels on the coastal area, were either damaged or destroyed. Then, of course, in between, we had the 30-year-old civil war, which ended only in 2009. And of course, tourism has been kind of yo-yoing throughout this time. It kind of lifts its head up and then comes crashing down again. Then, of course, most recently, which was very tragic, was in 2019, we had the Easter Sunday bombings where 4 churches and 3 5-star hotels were bombed simultaneously. And several tourists, for the first time, were also killed and affected. That was really disastrous, and tourism just stopped, literally stopped, and started picking up again around November, December, and there we have it. Then COVID-19 struck. Next slide, please. So, of course, unfortunately for us, Sri Lanka was actually selected as the #1 destination by Lonely Planet at the end of 2019. So the entire country was poised for this amazing resurgence in tourism, and we're really looking for a very robust year in 2020. But unfortunately, that was not to be. Next slide, please. Of course, there was, as in most countries, there was a complete ban on tourists, and the airports were shut in March of 2020. Next slide, please. So as you can see, from March onwards, there was 0 arrivals. So we had 0 tourists. And the only thing in December, the government experimentally tried to create a tourist bubble, bringing in charter flights from Ukraine and Kazakhstan. So that's why you see a few, 393, these were all charter flights. And basically where the hotel, the beach, and that particular area became a bubble, and aided by the Sri Lanka military to kind of cordon the whole area off and to try and have tourists come in. So that is still in play, but it has not been extremely successful because, needless to say, the tourists have to be quarantined, but within the hotel for 14 days, which is not very attractive. Next slide, please. So just on a broad sense, of course, naturally, as in every country, the impact on the entire supply chain in tourism was disastrous. I mean, overall, there was a loss of revenue and estimated at about 300 billion US dollars. Of course, in hotels and all tourism-related businesses, all temporary and casual staff were laid off, which meant zero income. About 20 to 30% of indirect employees lost their job. Women who are indirectly involved in tourism, who supply various services and so on, of course, immediately lost their sources of income. So it was disastrous, as it was in every country. Next slide, please. So we as a company, once we decided that the moment curfew is lifted and the lockdown is kind of relaxed, that we will resume hotel operations for local guests or staycationers. Next slide, please. So now, of course, in my role as head of operational excellence, the question was, how do we now deliver value amid a COVID-19 situation? Next slide, please. So, of course, the first thing was to come up with a series of protocols that could be rolled out in all of our hotels. Of course, the main concern for everybody around the world was health and safety, and that was the foremost in everybody's mind, because of course the virus is not something you can see, and confidence had to be built for someone to actually go and stay in a hotel. So the first thing was to come up with our operating procedures, which I authored and then had to roll out to our hotels. Next slide, please. And of course, the most important thing is the psychological aspect of this, because you can be taking all the possible precautions, but you walk in through the door of a hotel, you need to feel that this place is actually adhering to protocols and they actually consider this as something important. So of course, what I came up with was that at every touch point that we should have collateral that kind of reminds guests in a very subtle way that various aspects have been thought of. Next slide, please. So that meant I'm just showing you some of the collateral that we came up with for various hotels of ours, so that the customer felt that at any given time, wherever they went, that we had thought of what was required to keep them safe while visiting the hotel. Next slide, please. So of course, the most difficult part of it was changing people's mindsets. Of course, now all the staff were afraid. Nobody wanted to work in a hotel. Nobody wanted to touch anything. But of course, we had to inspire them and convince them that obviously we have to still continue to operate hotels, but under different circumstances. So of course, training became a major aspect of that, where a lot of time had to be spent. And in Asia, of course, for example, I mean, just to give one little example is, of course, Sri Lankans love children. And of course, when they see children, they all go and, touch their head and say, "Kuti, kuti, ku," and, and all that. And of course, one of the main things was to train our staff, please do not touch anybody, which was very, very important, because of course, everyone was quite paranoid about contacting the disease. So a lot of time is spent on training and encouraging our workers to come back. Now, of course, I have to say in Sri Lanka, our labor laws are such that you can't really lay people off and not pay. So whether we had business or not, of course, they had to be paid their full salaries. Next slide, please. So of course, now as part of my job, one of the things I do is how do you actually figure out whether we are achieving those things? Because we had to figure out whether our customers, what was their response to our efforts in presenting a COVID-safe hotel environment for them. Now, this is long before we're talking about, I think it was in July. Yes, July that we opened. So of course, we use a platform called ReviewPro. Some of you may be familiar with that. Basically, it gathers data from over 200 social media sites and brings it together. So the key areas that I would look at would be obviously the cleanliness rating and of course comments about COVID. Because as you know, everything is governed by social media nowadays. And all it takes is one negative comment, and then the recovery from that is quite tedious. So of course, we were achieving which I was actually relieved to see, because we were getting very positive comments from guests actually mentioning that the hotels, our hotels, were adhering to the required protocols, and we were going the extra mile, and they felt very safe and comfortable and secure in our hotels. So this is one of the platforms that we would use to kind of gauge that process.
Defica, sorry, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then of course, catering to the local clientele is great, but of course it's not viable, it's not sustainable. So then we thought, let's go to the next step. We had an opportunity to collaborate with the Sri Lanka Armed Forces that was handling the COVID effort. And we presented our hotels to convert to paid quarantine centers. Now, this was, of course, now stepping in further into darkness, if you will, from a staff standpoint, because now we are actually, there was a lot of resistance, not only from the staff, but from the community around, saying you are bringing COVID into our environment and, you know, presenting us with danger. That took a lot of convincing, but of course, the protocols are very, very strict. And actually, it's safer within the hotel than it is outside, because we have a red, yellow, and green zone, and there's no crossing over. Next slide, please. So actually, we are currently operating quarantine hotels. All of our hotels are quarantine hotels. And actually, interestingly enough, at this time, prior to the conversion, the general manager of the Avani resigned. And because Bentota, where I'm currently, is a very difficult town. And we had a lot of resistance from the local temple and everyone, and nobody was willing to come here. So I took the plunge and said, well, I'll go over to Bentota and convert the hotel, and let's get on with it, because of course we had to pay salaries. We had to try and make, some sort of revenue to meet our expenses. So I have to say it was not an easy journey, but of course we did it, and we've been in operation as a quarantine center since August, and actually we're considered one of the most successful quarantine operations now, thankfully. So, so that's where we are doing right now. Next slide, please. So as you can see, although this is not great occupancies, we were with quarantine operations, we were able to achieve maintain about an average 40% occupancy, whereas with the local business, we were only achieving about 5 to 8% occupancy. Next slide, please. So basically what I'd like to leave back as a thought is, yes, things happen in life, but the most important thing is we need to be adaptable. We have to be flexible. We must be open to learning, and very important to be optimistic, even when there seems to be no hope. And for me personally, it's always to be thankful for every little thing that does come. Because we must remember that we are not actually born with resilience, but it is learned through experience. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Defica. It's thank you to all of our speakers for sharing their inspiring stories. I hope it gives us all hope that things will get better soon. So we are now entering the Q&A session, and I would like to ask, so I will ask each speaker one question, and then also some questions from the audience. So first, I would like to ask Defica, so now one of the marketing trends in the hospitality industry is staycation. How significant do you think the revenue from staycations for running the whole hotel during the pandemic? Because as you mentioned before, you still need to make sure that the rooms are clean and all the equipment are sterilized for the next guest. So what is your take on that?
Yes, well, of course, in the context of Sri Lanka, I mean, local business is primarily restricted to the weekends, which means pretty much it's only one night. So, of course, you have 100% occupancy over the weekend, and then by Tuesday, you drop to 0. And of course, the rates are significantly lower, but of course, the expectations of our clientele is significantly higher because they're coming for a deal. And of course, in Sri Lanka, we have a buffet culture where everybody expects to see this amazing array of food for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, quite forgetting that you're paying 50% or less price. So just to give you some examples, so now if we had a mix of guests as in normal operations, our break-even point would be 56% in occupancy, whereas in a staycation scenario, we need at least 75% occupancy, which is unachievable.
Right.
Also, for another point would be, I would say, now the cost of cleaning a room and the normal circumstances with normal business would be versus staycationers. Staycationers cost about 10% more because the turnover is higher. But in the scenario of COVID, where of course these additional protocols come into play, the cost of cleaning a room increases by almost 50%, so which is quite substantial. So in the short term, it may help one's cash flow a little bit, but then we found that converting to quarantine centers, although it's not massive, but that was more consistent, and we were able to survive in a more reasonable manner, and occasionally a few months turning a small profit as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Defica. Ibu Alfonsa? Ibu Alfonsa, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Ibu Alfonsa.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask, so with the current travel restrictions, I imagine that it also decreases the number of tourists coming to Flores, which may affect the sales of, souvenirs, gifts, and other crafts or so. Yeah. So does it affect your sales? Do you have any tips and tricks for those who are running these businesses to still make sales during the pandemic?
Yeah, well, because we are still alive around natural resources, so we have time to finish our own work, like finish in garden farm, and we finish our weaving because that's slow in production. So we have time in this pandemic time. We have concentrate time to finish our own work, like pig slaughters or cattle breeding, chicken, and everything that urban life working. So in Lepelorun workshop, we have working from home like 3 months to finish our own work, and we have 9 months right now. We finish work in our studio. Every day our weavers come for make an innovation, sound like a trends for a millennial, for the people, local tourism. We focus on local tourism. They come every day for photo, and we make money like 2 million per day, 3 million per day, and weavers can get the good money, better than before pandemic. This is a good trend because the people, local tourism like Asia and Indonesia, they like showing their photo, video at the social media. So they want to pay. And another innovation, we make mask, face mask production with weaving, ikat weaving, and we make service herbal wellness, herbal drink in pandemic to keep our immune, and another work to finish our weaving. There is work and by online to keep contact with our networking overseas.
So the key is to keep on making innovations with your business.
Yeah, because we are community-based tourism, and ecotourism is the best implementing when pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Alfonsa. And Doris, how about, so I heard that, Doris, are you there? I think you're still on mute.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so I heard that the pandemic is kind of like a blessing in disguise for sustainable tourism, because now more travelers are more aware of the importance of traveling locally or supporting local businesses, like Ibu Alfonsa just mentioned earlier. And so do you have any plan to make travel packages that are safe and also promote sustainable traveling in Ghana? And maybe limiting the number of tourists could be one option, so that even during the pandemic, people may still travel. What do you think?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. So before the pandemic, many Ghanaians would like to travel to, let's say, Europe, Asia. It was more of like the outbound travel was more than we having a domestic kind of travel. So when COVID came and we realized that even myself, we couldn't go anywhere. We are all stuck here in Ghana. One of the now advertisements for us was to promote Ghana. So we started a staycation agenda, if I should say. We started promoting Ghana in a way that Ghanaians themselves could discover Ghana. So my company, as a travel and tour agency, we even made a lot of brochures. We did a lot of tour packages where I was on myself. I think one of my last but one slide was on staycation, but I couldn't have enough time to go through that. And we visited, very remote places in Ghana. And I was amazed as a Ghanaian and also ashamed in a way that I had not really traveled a lot in Ghana, and I'm all over the world. So it was a blessing for us, yes. And our domestic tourism has really improved. A lot of people are getting to know what we have here, our culture, our attractions more than previously, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
I see a question directed to me. I don't know if you read it out later.
Yeah, later. We'll go to the questions from the audience because there's a question I would like to ask to Nino. Hi, Nino.
Hi again.
So you already explained about Site Georgia and how you promote to travel locally in Georgia. But what do you think is the role of travel media in general during this pandemic? I mean, since we cannot travel abroad, so yeah. So could you give more details on that? Do you also promote about conducting healthy and safety measures during traveling, or just promoting local destinations?
Well, thank you for the question. I think both, but I would start that firstly, it is really important to inform people about safety and to first let them know what are the restrictions, how they can stay healthy, what they should do to just not get the disease as much as possible. And then also to let them know where they can go in a safe destination, and then what the tourism businesses are actually doing to receive these guests and to reassure the visitors also that they can go travel to the hotels, and then the doors are open, and then the staff is doing everything that they need to do to prevent the spread of disease. So I would say informing about the health issues would be a very important thing. Another thing that I also really vouch for is to try to inspire people to travel locally and to practice more staycation, or at least domestic tourism, and then to in our case to help local businesses to share their voice and then to let people know about themselves.
Okay, thank you, Dina. Now we have some questions from our audience here. I'll just read one by one. To Doris, there's a question from Talia. So she asks, how is the tourism condition right now in Ghana? I know that Ghana was celebrating its Independence Day, and I found out online that Ghana has so many cultures to discover. Is the government or tourism sector trying to collaborate with local communities to attract more tourists and raise the local community economy? And how is ecotourism now in Ghana?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, so every year when we celebrate our Independence Day, we try to highlight one of the major things that we are doing in Ghana as a country. So with the onset of the pandemic and the COVID-19, and as I said earlier, with staycation and promotion of Ghana as a destination, yes, the government has sort of really collaborated with the local communities and then the tourist attractions to ensure, that we are doing a lot more community-based tourism and promote our culture as well. So we are doing that, yes, physically and also virtually, to put it on various social media platforms, and then letting everybody know what our country has to offer. So we are, the government and all the stakeholders are doing everything possible to promote Ghana.
Okay. Thank you. There are also questions about productivity. So to Ibu Alfonsa and also Nino. So maybe Ibu Alfonsa first, can you share with us how you convince people to remain productive or do what they usually do during this COVID-19 pandemic? And almost the same question to Nino, what makes you feel like you have to fight or to be productive in the situation like this? So maybe Ibu Alfonsa, you can start.
When the pandemic, we have good prepare for all situation. So we adapt with our situation, we adapt with our healthy. So how to keep going on with our activity is based on many stakeholders collaborate. So we're not working by ourselves, but in this situation, it's like a global situation. So we need information, we make information, share, and communicate with all stakeholders. Right. And what we do based on what our capacity to present in our main work.
Okay. And Nino, what is your take? Like, why do you feel like you have to be productive? And
that's a really good question. Well, maybe I would say my love for travel makes me do something in the industry. So the way that I found myself doing something good in the travel industry was to create this platform, for example. So I think maybe because I'm so passionate about traveling, and I love our country so much, and I travel all the time. I really wanted to contribute to developing to the industry. So I would say that, that's the thing that makes me wake up every morning and go to work.
Okay. I would like to ask Defica, there's a question about vaccines. What is your opinion about vaccines? This is a question from Elizabeth, and actually I'm also questioning this one. Is it really important, or do you think the vaccine will actually be working and for us to go to travel the normal way? Like, how do you think that the vaccine will work and how it affects the travel industry?
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. This is quite a controversial topic. I think there are very, very extreme views amongst everybody. Right now in Sri Lanka, actually, the government's rolled out a vaccination scheme. Funnily enough, I was actually asked to have a vaccine today, which I couldn't. But I don't think we really have a choice in the matter, because what can you do? I mean, of course, everyone's very eager to travel. Business needs to resume. Now, if you think back into the days of, most of you are too young, but smallpox and all this sort of thing, there was no way of getting about it. So there was a vaccine, and then the vaccine allowed us to then go about or bring about some degree of normalcy. And I think it's inevitable that the vaccination becomes very important for travel purposes. I think some countries are already talking about having a vaccination passport. So, all of us have got, we are eager to travel. We've been sitting in one place for over a year and itching to get out and explore. Yes, personally, I have some reservations about the vaccination, but by and large, I think the research and the data shows that by and large it's safe. But I think we won't have a choice. If the countries impose it, then the choice is ours. Do you travel or do you not travel?
Yeah.
I think it's inevitable that we will have to embrace the vaccine.
Yeah. So hopefully that would be one of the solutions to what we are facing right now. Dr. Stroma, is there anything you would like to add on? Dr. Stroma? Are you still there?
Here.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
Anything to add about vaccinations?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with Defica that I think it will become inevitable. I'm very concerned that there's going to be increased inequality. Those who have the vaccine and those that don't, those who are able to travel and those who aren't. There's been a very uneven rollout of the vaccines up to now. Just compare England with Europe, it's massively different. Within England alone, we've got a very uneven uptake. It's this problem of intersecting inequalities. Ethnic minority people in this country aren't getting the vaccine at the same rate as the white population is. So yes, I believe that it's inevitable that everybody's going to get the jab. I think that it's going to be an annual vaccine. And I think that vaccine passports will be used, but I don't. I think there's a philosophical issue around their use, right? Because it's exclusionary, and I think that's an issue. Mm-hmm. But I actually think that getting back to what people keep talking about, building back and getting back to normal, I don't believe in any of it. I was quite surprised about Doris's figure about the number of tourists in Ghana in 2027. I mean, that was a prediction long before the pandemic hit, and I just don't believe it at all. I think that we should all be adapting and becoming resilient, and we've had some wonderful ideas about adaptation and resilience, but I think that people they're not actually being very long-sighted about it. We're not going to build back to what we had. We're going to be lucky if in 3 years' time we're back at 1990 levels. The price of flights, is just not going to get cheap again, right? And there's lots of people who do lots of predictions, and I'm not a prediction expert, and I haven't got I'm not a witch with a ball in front of me, and I can sit there and say, but from my understanding and my reading and my learning about it, and I think that there are other factors that are going to come into play, and I think climate change is going to be one of them. And I think that if we're not cognizant about the impact that climate change is going to have on the cost of flights and on tourism in general, and if people keep going for tourism growth in terms of numbers rather than quality, the constant, particularly in Indonesia, more, without looking at what type. And it's just, countries around the world are just competing to have more tourists rather than the right type of tourists. I think that they're going down the wrong road, and they're going to be very sadly hurt and broken further down.
It could be challenging also to change the concept to set a new standard.
Well, just the same as we bash the drum for gender equality, right? We have to bash the drum for climate change as well. Right, because the two things are interconnected together with poverty and human rights, and we have to put the whole lot in the mix when we're having our discussions, and not, we can't go back to the kind of tourism numbers that we've been used to and think that it's all going to work out fine, because it isn't.
True. So I would like to ask to all of the speakers, and Dr. Stroma, please feel free to fill in. So I think, based on my own experience, because I was a travel editor in Bali for 5 years, I think that tourism industry is quite vulnerable to the global situation. Like, for example, in Bali, when the volcano erupted, already the tourism industry just like all tourists just went home, and most of the hotels are empty, and I cannot imagine what they have been facing during this pandemic, because it's been going on for a year now. Do you think that is there anything that we should change in how we run the tourism industry? How we change in the travel and tourism industry, because all of the businesses, from travel agents, hotels, they are all vulnerable with the global situation. So what is your take on that? Ibu Stroma, maybe you can start.
Well, my take on it is to reset tourism, put gender equality at the top of the list. All right, because if you got that right, you'd be getting one thing right. And the next is to put water on the list. You know, that's because that's my area of interest, and because what I know is that water is going to be, you know, the next factor, which is going to be very, very limiting for tourism and for local people. And the increase in tourism is not sustainable with its present water use, and it's carbon. You know, and put communities at the heart of it. Put tourism that enables communities to have their livelihoods. Stuff like what Alfonsa does. You use the wonderful examples that exist around the world of, you know, when Alfonsa's not been affected massively by this pandemic, right? Because they're in agriculture, they're in crafts, they've got linkages, they do other things. It's a diversified livelihood, which is centered on women and community.
Yes.
And if more tourism was centered on women and community and diversification, it would be better tourism.
Yeah. Doris, is there anything you would like to add? Hello, Doris?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to add? How do you think we can reset tourism to be less vulnerable after this pandemic over, hopefully?
Yes. Speaking from a travel agent business point of view, and Dr. Stroma, you were right. That prediction was made way before the 2027 figures. When I was doing my research, I came about that, we were predicting that by 2027, we're going to get all these numbers coming in, and COVID came. So definitely so many factors are coming in, and we may not even hit that figure. But from a travel consultant or a travel agency point of view, what we have learned to do differently for us is to be more proactive when it comes to our online presence, because we realize that we are not able to do traditional travel agency work that much. Up till now, we are still rotating. I get half of my staff or colleagues come to work at every point in time. Our office is not full. We are not getting a lot of travelers come into our office because of restrictions here and there. So we've learned to do things much more digitally. So in my presentation, I was talking about how to create online platforms for our campus, for us to be more visible on the social media or other electronic ways of selling our business and become sustainable or still be in business. Because there have been some travel agencies in Ghana that have folded up because, there were no sales, there was no revenue. And so if you don't really learn to adjust to do things differently, you're just going to, fit out of the system. So one thing we have done is be more present online, do things more electronic, and even sell our destinations much electronically than do things traditionally.
Okay, thank you. Nino, there is a question. How is the situation tourism in Georgia, considering the trend considering that the trend in travel is aiming for fit and small groups, and as I mentioned before, travel agents are the most, this is a question from Pranoto in Semarang. So he said travel agents are the most vulnerable industry in tourism, as in because of the travel border restrictions. So what is going on right now in Georgia?
Well, the borders have been closed for almost a year now. We've had few programs going on and off in the country. Like there was 1 month last year during the spring where the government was letting some tourists in and the others not. And then there was a moment when they opened the borders, but no one came. So it's been a really, really hard situation. A lot of, especially a lot of small cafes and hotels closed down permanently. It's been only like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks that they have allowed restaurants and hotels to reopen again. So a lot of businesses are struggling a lot. And even though domestic tourism has grown a lot for last year, you cannot compare the income from foreign tourists to domestic tourists. So it's been still really hard for the industry to recover, to go back. And I also don't know if there is any going back, as Dr. Stoma also mentioned, because we don't know. Going back is not okay either. So it was not sustainable. It was not resilient. So there needs a lot of changes to be done. And I think we still have a long way to go, but hopefully it will be a good way. So let's see.
There's a question from Uswatun from Surabaya. He addresses this to all speakers, so feel free to answer. So being a woman in tourism is very challenging with the inequality and the things that we just discussed earlier. So, but it is also, on the other hand, our passion. So he said, can you tell us the positive and negative sides, like the good and the bad stuff about being a woman in the tourism industry? Maybe Defica, can you start?
Okay, sure. Thank you for the question. Yes, well, it's not easy. At the time when I started, when I was in middle management, I was the only female, and at that in hotels exclusively, and forgive me, this was a fact, it was all European men, tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed gentlemen. And here comes a short, dark Asian woman into the mix. So you can just imagine how that went down. So not only was it gender, it was racial, it was a full gamut of things. But look, nothing is easy. I think the main thing is we should not have a chip on our shoulders. Just because we're women, we should not have a chip on our shoulders. You know, we have the capability and the passion, and if we have the flair, to do the job that we wish to do. And we should not let anybody else stand in the way in that, because at the end of the day, you know, you be what you are. I mean, the most important thing I think as a woman is, I mean, in my era, of course, you were trying to be like a man in order to be accepted. But now in the more recent generations, you don't need to do that. So I think the most important thing is that as a woman, be the woman you are, because you bring a certain element of dynamics into the mix, especially when it comes to decision making, because empathy, and we men look at things differently. And therefore it's a strength. Actually, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. So my take is, it's not easy, not only in tourism, but in any industry, but be the woman that you are and stand firm and don't back off.
Yeah, wow, that's really powerful. Is there, Nino, would you like to add on that?
If I may, I wouldn't add anything because it was so beautifully said and so powerful. So I think Miss Defica said everything that is on our minds right now. So thank you for such an amazing answer, actually.
To Defica, there's also a question. In what ways will the hotel industry change once people begin traveling again?
Okay, first of all, I think and I tell all my colleagues this, everyone talks about the good old days. Forget it, as Dr. Stromer said, that's finished, it's gone. I think we had the perfect opportunity to rethink, reinvent ourselves, and that is what we should be focusing on. The main thing in everybody's mind is you want to travel. Yes, all of us want to travel. But what is the main concern? It's safety. We want to be, we put a lot more emphasis on being in a clean, safe environment, maintaining the distances and so on. So I see that, going back to mass tourism is going to be a hard sell, frankly, or it's not going to come back. I know the countries that depend on that are going to have a hard time. But now, for instance, from our company's point, we are focusing a lot more on the villa space, because that's a place where you can come in with your family or with a few people and have a safe holiday without having to, rub shoulders with another 200 people in mass tourism. So the expectations will be more for, I think, hygiene and as well as sustainability. I think we've realized that we really are not in control of the universe as we seem to think. And, that we need to start respecting the environment and being part of the solution rather than being part of the problem. So I think even the traveler is going to be looking for more sustainable operations and people that actually put a lot of thought and importance to that. Yes, that costs money. At the end of the day, let's not kid ourselves, it's a business. But I think we have to make a conscious effort to give the right narrative that we are paying a lot of attention to sustainability, whether it's gender or climate or anything. I think that is important. I think we need to all rally together instead of trying to be so competitive. Yes, we have to be competitive and make a quick buck.
Yeah.
But, if we rally together, I think we can come through this and everyone can have a piece of the pie and slowly build on it. But our direction, the norm is not going to be the same. And I think that's the first thing we need to accept.
Okay.
And cater to that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Defica. Ibu Alfonsa. Bu Alfonsa? Hello? Are you there, Ibu?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bu. So you mentioned that Lepalorun still welcoming tourists, domestic tourists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a question from Aina from the Ministry of Tourism Indonesia. How are the health protocols implemented at Lepalorun so that the host and the guests remain safe and tourists can still gain experience when visiting the center, especially if they want to stay at the Eco Hotel? So how do you implement the health protocol at your center?
Yeah, we just service for daily, so they not living in, not service for eco homestay. They just come 1 hour and for photo and they living. But the tourist here, just local tourism and for oversized like different islands, they showing their testing of COVID. Local government help and they have a role system for us, like how to service with the tourist come. We have system for that, for the service. So still right now we keep it, and now we all of us the community still held.
Do you mind to give us details on the system? Like, how do you run the system?
Wearing a mask. And test of the temperature, and they washing hands, and they drink herbal drink, and they showing the testing COVID-19 to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is also a question from Mengku Marhendis in Semarang. I think we can address this to Doris. So he says, many travel agents are jobless right now. Could you give some inspiration so that they can create their own business?
Wow, that's a very great one. I remember when the COVID started, even myself, I was a bit uncertain as to whether I'll still have a job or not. during the pandemic because we were practically doing nothing. And one of the ideas that we thought of was to, aside diversifying vacations and domestic travel, we also of adding other services to provide to our clients. For instance, helping, because there is a travel of people are still traveling for work. So like for essential work, people are migrating, let me say, to meet their families, or, you know, we've had instances where people are having to travel for work. So we had to increase our provision of service for immigrations that are assisting travelers with visa on arrivals, especially for work purposes, and also help with residence permit for work travelers and work permits. So we needed to find other areas where we can still assist travelers so that we don't go home or we don't become jobless. So I'd like to inspire such people that do not concentrate only on the selling of the international tickets. But if you can find other areas of how you can assist a traveler, maybe who has to move to somewhere for an essential travel, assist in visa applications or visa facilitation, I mean, all these other areas, yes. So that's one of the diversification areas that also helped us. And also, yes, providing information for the COVID-19 test. We had to make sure that we were in contact with health centers or clinics that were giving the jab, or having the test made, so that by doing that, you get some little income there, because people would be willing to pay a little bit more if they know that you can provide them with fast service of where to get their PCR test done, or that kind of thing. So that also brought in a little income.
Thank you, Doris. Unfortunately, we are going towards the end of our discussion. I hope we still have the whole day, maybe, because it's so interesting. The topic is really interesting. So one last question for each speaker, maybe just a short closing remarks. So what message do you have for the women in tourism industry who are now struggling to keep going during this pandemic? So maybe we can start with Ibu Alfonsa.
Yeah, women can keep going of the pandemic based on number one is just healthy, looking the good protocol, and keep going with your work. So not a pessimist with the pandemic, but this good things for us to take a rest and good vitamin for us, and we have survived many information, collaborate, networking, and communicate with friends.
Nino, how do you, what are your messages for the women out there?
I would also firstly say stay healthy, because it's the most important thing right now, and we are sure of that right now. So try to stay healthy, not only physically, but also mentally, because it gets really hard sometimes. And I would say try to support each other and try to support each other's goals, try to help celebrate each other's achievements, and then just show the women around you that you can do it, and then there is a way out. There's always a way out.
Okay. Doris, what is your take? What would you like to say to our audience today?
Okay, I would like to say to all women, ladies, that keep it up. You're doing a great job. You survived to this point. So it means that you're really doing well. It's not easy. There is nothing good that comes easy. So please keep pushing, keep trying out all the ideas that you know that you can be able to, do around this time. You're doing well. So just keep up the good work. And as a woman, just stand out, and like the others have also said, be healthy, exercise, and by the grace of God, yes, we'll pull through.
Yeah. Defica? Defica, hello?
Hi. Yes,
Hi.
I'd kind of sum it up in 3 points. I think the most important thing is that, we are all kind of wired to be setting goals and trying to achieve certain benchmark, goals that based on benchmarks and so on. I think the COVID should have taught us that nothing is permanent. So I think the main thing is be open, be willing to step out of your comfort zone, and actually embrace diverse experiences, because it makes you a better decision maker. And also as a woman, and as a married woman or a woman with children, there is absolutely no shame in stepping backwards or moving laterally, or stop working for a few months or a year. There's absolutely no shame, because it is important that you also somehow fit your family obligations as well. Life is not fair, but you have a right to your aspirations as well. But your family also is important. And never mind what society says. Maybe if you got your degree when you're 80 years old, that's fine. Just do it, follow your dream. And as I said before, the most important thing, your strength is the fact that you are a woman. So don't forget that.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Stroma, do you have any messages for our audience today?
Well, I think Defica really said it very well. I would like to iterate that you've only got your own health in the end. So look after yourself physically, look after yourself mentally. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. Don't be ashamed to reach out. Remember that you are strong, but that together we are stronger. So support one another, help one another, network together, and together we will remain strong.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Stroma, Doris, Nino, Ibu Alfonsa, and Defica for your inspiring ideas and stories today. I'm sure they're all insightful for our audience. I'm sorry you don't have the whole day to discuss more. I think now I can invite Cynthia, our MC of the day. Cynthia?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for all the speakers today who have shared their stories, and their experience is really insightful for us. Now it's time to moment we have been waiting for. I will announce the winner of the best question for this event. Congratulations to Aina Lia Anjani from Kemenparekraf. Congratulations again. For the winner, please contact us via DM on Instagram at womentourism.id or through our contact person, me, on the WhatsApp number listed on the poster. Okay, so with the announcement of the winner of this quiz, it indicates that the event has ended. Thank you all for all the amazing speakers who are willing to be here today. We are so honored today. And also, we would like to thank you for all of our media partners who helped publish this event. Thanks to Republika, Ayo Telusuri, Instellar, Pelakita.id, Himapa, HMBI, Universitas Pancasila, Wego Indonesia, Sustainable Indonesia, Asadesa.id, Kita Jakarta, Wirta ID, Webinar Wanita, Feminist Event, Kaventer Indonesia, UKM Indonesia, Travosism, and MRLUP. Also, thank you for the sponsor Wearing Inges who have supported this event, and for the enthusiasm of all of you who have participated in this event from beginning to end. Hopefully this event can provide a new insight and for all of us. Lastly, I would like to request for all the participants and speakers today to take a group photo session before we end this web talk show. For all the participants, you may turn on your camera so we can take a group photo. Okay, so I think all of the participants has on their camera. Now we're going to take a photo.
Okie dokie. So yeah.
Yeah. Monique, you may count or me?
Okay, maybe I will count to 3 before we take the photo. We will take 3 photos because we have so many participants today. Okay, so for the first one, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Please wait a minute. All right. Let's go take the second one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Please wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oops. I'm sorry. Maybe Laxi, can you please help me? My computer is kind of slow here.
Or maybe Sari can help me also.
Okay. So sorry. All right. And for the third one, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you. I have taken all of the photos here. Okay, Cynthia, back to you.
Yes. Thank you, Hanin. Thank you again for all the participants and speakers today. We really enjoyed this event. I hope you all also enjoy it today and have a new exciteful and we hope to see you all again in the next hour, in the next event. Thank you again, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.